Hello and welcome to the Help Is Here podcast, brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Today I'm talking to Joe, one of our members within the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Welcome on the podcast, Joe. How are you doing today?
Great to be here. Finally, good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you on again. So today we'll talk a little bit about shame, and let's just explore that topic and see where we go. Obviously, shame is a big thing that comes up for a lot of guys in the porn addiction. Do you want to kind of share a bit about your experience of shame in the past?
Yeah, so for me, when it pertains to porn specifically, the whole sort of episode of shame came in when I actually started to stop. So as we all go through, our ways of trying to stop and staying stopped, my first attempt was through NoFap.
Yeah.
So when it comes to NoFap, the typical mindset that someone gets locked into is to build up a streak. And so that was the first strategy I employed in order to stop porn. And so when I attempted that, I was thinking, right, this will be easy, or maybe not easy, but I'm up to the challenge and I think I can do well. And what happened to me, and subsequently I feel what happens to a lot of guys, is that they try to get to a certain amount of days and they perhaps get disappointed that they were not as robust as they first thought they were. And so the cycle of perhaps getting to a certain amount of days, whether it's 5, 6, 7 days, over and over and over again, you start to feel a bit demoralized and you start to feel a bit disappointed that you can't stop. And because you hear all the benefits of, okay, what happens when you stop watching pornography, you feel that you're trying to get there, you're trying to get to that destination, but you seem to feel that you can't because you can't get it past a certain amount of days. And I remember when this happened to me, I was in third year of uni, and I think it was like after my 5th or 6th attempt of trying to stop by building a streak, that sense of shame then started to grow. Why can't I stop? I can't stop. This is just so persistent. Like, why is this so hard to stop? Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my desires? And that's where the shame episode began for me.
It's a really interesting take, because I think with this topic of porn addiction, a lot of the time when people are talking about shame, it's kind of focused on, oh, well, this person is looking at this kind of content and that's what's causing the shame.
Yeah.
Rather than the angle that you've just brought up there, which I completely resonate with, which is one of, well, I keep trying to stop this behaviour, and despite telling myself, this is it now, never going to do it again, I quit, you end up going back to the behaviour. And that's what's partly leading to those feelings of shame as well. It's like the feeling of failing, the feeling like, why do I keep having these desires? Like, part of me wants to stop this behaviour so bad, so then how do I end up continuing down the same path of being down hundreds of times in the past?
Yeah.
And there can be so much shame from that side of things rather than the actual content that you're looking at.
Yeah. Oh, so this, if you call that chapter 1 of shame, we're going to go into chapter 2 of shame. So chapter 2 of shame is, yes, when you have sort of built up those addicted neural pathways through consistently engaging in your addiction, aka your inability to stop the addiction, because you're repeatedly engaging, perhaps over weeks or months, years or even decades, that tolerance cycle inevitably builds up like it would for any other drug, weed, coke, even food. The tolerance cycle starts to build up, right? And so what then happens is that tolerance cycle will manifest as perhaps fetishes within the engaging. And so people will then sort of discover that their porn usage or porn habits evolve into sort of more extreme content, or perhaps more novel content, or perhaps different sort of habits of engaging, right? And so And a good example of this would be something that's very popular nowadays within the space, which is like gooning. And so when you're engaging for, let's say, you start engaging, and then that session will sort of last for a long time, perhaps 1, 2, 3, up to 8, 9, 10 hours in some cases. And activity like that, you've done the session and you finished it, and then that massive wave of shame then comes along. And subsequently, because you're now have deepened those addictive neural pathways, you're in those addictive habits, and what we'll get onto is the thoughts that then come up from that. You're then put into that portal of shame.
Yeah.
And you're, let's say, going into like a quicksand of this mixture of thoughts, shame and hopelessness. And that's where I got stuck, and a lot of other guys have got stuck.
Quicksand's a good way of putting it. It's like you engage and it maybe starts off not too bad, but then you just feel like you're sinking deeper and deeper and deeper, and you do get into that headspace where you honestly believe like there's no way out, like this is just who I am now, I'm trapped, I can't get out of this state I'm in. And then it's like you then relapse again, and that just compounds those feelings of shame and hopelessness, and then you relapse again, and it just compounds further and further and further. And then you go online and you watch a YouTube video on NoFap or whatever bullshit, right? And obviously I'm quite openly against a lot of YouTube videos on this topic, because I do believe they make the problem worse. So you watch those videos and it will be titled something like never relapse again. And you watch that, you try the advice, doesn't work, you relapse again, deeper and deeper and deeper, and it just gets worse and worse. And I guess that's kind of why we exist, and that's why you're doing what you're doing as well, is to try and help people see that there is like light at the end of the tunnel, like there is an actual way out of this problem, and you don't have to keep on going down deeper into the sinking sand. And I think a big part of this is understanding, well, a massive part, everything we teach really is about understanding the addictive part of the mind. And so I think understanding that the shame and those feelings of hopelessness are largely being caused by the addictive neural pathways, being caused by the addictive part of the mind. I think that's so essential to understand that it's like all part of the same package, really.
Yes. Would you say that guys, when they're in this situation, perhaps they've been 10 years in, do you feel that guys are very hard on themselves when they're in this stage?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. And when we're talking about those addictive neural pathways, and we'll get on to the thoughts of that now, do you feel like that when it comes to feeling all that stuff, it is invoked by the addiction, it's invoked by the addictive neural pathways, rather than it coming from somewhere that's rational and objective?
Yeah. The way I like to see it is with these different parts in the mind. Obviously we have the addicted part of the mind, the child self, the rational part of the mind. I like to often see what's going on in a person's mind as, okay, well, what's the addicted part of the mind strategy here? What does the addicted part of the mind want? The addicted part of the mind only wants one thing, 24/7. It just wants you to engage in your compulsive behaviour. So what strategy can it use to get what it wants? Well, it's going to say, this is just who you are. There's something wrong with you. Why do I have these desires? And it's going to try to resist those desires, push them away, distract yourself, avoid them. So seeing it from that angle, you can just see, well, yeah, obviously you're going to end up feeling like a failure, like there's something wrong with you, etc., because that's what the addictive part of the mind wants. Because if it can get you into that headspace, then you're going to go, fuck it. Just one peak won't hurt. I'll just do it one more time. It doesn't really matter.
The familiar cycle. Before, and I was completely in this situation. I mentioned before in another podcast that I went through 2 other paid programs as well. And to add on top of all the shame, perhaps, of, yeah, we went through the YouTube videos, we went through the books, we went through the audiobooks. And then for me, I was then, we got to get serious, right? And so let's invest in myself. Let's see what's out there, what coaches are out there, what services are out there that can help me as a dedicated service to help me stop porn addiction and, most importantly, stay stopped, right? And, you know, long story short, these two other programs were unsuccessful when it came to the results that I wanted to achieve, right? And knowing what I know now, it makes sense because of the strategies and the thinking within these programs, what they employed, right? And so
do you think the other programs helped you get more comfortable talking about the problem at all? Like in those programs, were you talking about what was going on for you on like group calls or anything like that?
Yeah, we were sharing. So in these other programs, it was more of a sort of sharing platform. There were modules, there were strategies, there were these other things that could be used in order to sort of manage what was going on with your addiction, right? But one of the core elements of these programs that was you're in a men's group and you share your experience, but it wasn't necessarily focused on pinpointing or focused on actually interrupting that pattern of engaging, interrupting the cycle of the addictive mechanism at play, which is what we focus on. It was more about perhaps sharing your wins and losses within the week, in your life in general, and then perhaps touching on other areas of your life. So it was more of an indirect way of addressing the addiction, such as, okay, well, are you improving in your fitness goals? Are you improving on your relationship goals? And using these as a way of, using these areas of your life and improving in them as a way of sort of helping you stop your addiction, right? And what I quickly discovered was that even if I was to improve on all of these things, it wouldn't necessarily take away from the damage of the engaging that was still happening, right? And so it put me in a really bad spot. And yes, that added even more shame because I was like, well, I'm doing these things. I'm improving these things, but I'm not seeing the result that I want, which is to stop and stay stopped. Yeah. And we can obviously talk more about that, but yeah, it's really tough because there's a lot of information out there which you kind of have to weed through. And it makes you think, does anyone have a real good understanding of the problem at hand here? Because I'm not stopping and I feel like I can't stop. Yeah. And a lot of guys are in this mental space, and it's sort of very demoralizing when, not just when you're in the situation, but when you see other guys in it. Yeah. And it is what it is.
100%. Yeah. I think it's an interesting point because inside of that program, obviously you may get more comfortable talking about the problem, and people may see that as, okay, that person's therefore resolving those feelings of shame by talking about it openly. And obviously that's quite a big strategy that anyone will really share, is like, oh, you don't want to have this problem just in private and have it as some secretive issue in your life. You want to be open about it, go find a therapist, talk to a friend about it, talk to your partner about it. And all of that is fine and well, but I feel like your experience and my experience is a great testament to the fact that you can talk about this problem as much as you like, and that may be really good to get you comfortable, and that is a good thing overall. However, is that going to help you change addictive neural pathways? Yeah. No. Like, I started this whole YouTube channel, this whole mission that I've been on for like years and years now, way before I met Mary Portis and even discovered how to solve the issue. I was still relapsing. I'd share that openly on the podcast when I first started the Finally Quit Porn podcast, which this once was before I deleted a load of episodes because I was just talking a load of nonsense like everyone else. But I was talking about relapsing, and I was open, and I was sharing that. So I'd got comfortable talking about it, which is great, and maybe I'd remove some feelings of shame perhaps, but then after a relapse, bang, right back in the shame, you know? But I wouldn't necessarily go and record an episode right away in that moment. Yeah. And even if I did, it's like, okay, great, but you're still feeling shit overall, because the addictive part of the mind has shame as one strategy, but it's also got like 100 other strategies as well.
Yeah, and that's really important, because this is a very nuanced problem. When you look at YouTube videos, sometimes, well, a lot of the times actually, you listen to the content, observe what they're saying, and on the surface, it's pretty rational. It can make sense. It's intuitive to perhaps think, well, put a blocker on, install whatever other software I need to install to sort of not access pornography. And then you've also got perhaps the diet side of it. And then you've also got, you know, self-care and other things such as working out, right? But it's not addressing this core issue. And the wanting doesn't go away with all those things in mind. And I think, just to touch on that, I think, you know, because you've guys that know you have been there when you started your YouTube, and we'll come on to that. I think I want to ask you about that. But, you know, we've talked about how stuff can sort of get very convoluted when we're trying to quit. So we've gone through the NoFap, we've gone through YouTube videos, we've gone through books, we've gone through, you know, just touch on some paid program stuff. I don't want to say that, you know, when I started working with Mary and yourself, we sort of got, you know, a big core element of what you teach is going back to first principles. And just to go back to like the shame thing here, something very profound. It's very simple, right? But something very profound that you guys really highlighted to me and the rest of the guys that I was with in the program was that this issue started when you were very young, right? The average age is like 11. I was 13 when I got exposed to, you know, hardcore pornography. And that was when the cycle, you could say, started. Now, from age 13 to all the way when I first started to do the NoFap stuff, what we talked about, I was unaware, but I knew that I liked porn. I knew that I wanted to watch porn, but I was unaware that it was a problem. And I feel like a lot of guys start off in this position. But going back to the age thing, we start off when we're very young. And despite that, despite knowing that, we're still really hard on ourselves. What would you kind of want to say about that? Like, how would you sort of unpack that?
Yeah, I think it's really breaking down the understanding of the repetition of actions and how that wires the brain in a certain way. So I love playing football. So I'm just going to use a football analogy that I've literally just come up with now. And as you and Mary and everyone in the program knows, some of my analogies are great. Some of them are terrible. So I don't know which way this is going to go yet, but we'll go with it anyway. So if you play a lot of football, you get better at football. Like, obviously, right? The more you repeat something, usually the better at it you get, and you develop certain neural pathways. That's probably going to help you be better at that thing. With porn, you know, for me, it was age 12. So looking at porn basically every night between the ages of 12 and 16, masturbating in my bed at night. Wasn't aware of the consequences at all during those 4 years. That's like 1,200 plus days of masturbation with porn. That is a lot of wiring in your brain. That is a lot of repetition. And then between the ages of 16 and around 25, you then got 9 years of intermittent reinforcement, going on NoFap streaks, trying to stop, and then relapsing again. So then what I've done is I've just wired my brain to basically put porn on an incredible pedestal, going on a streak, having this ultra focus on it, trying not to do it all the time instead of actually focusing on what am I choosing to do and why. No real education on the problem at all. And then I'm just continuing to relapse and compound those feelings of there's something wrong with me, strengthening those addictive neural pathways for 9 years. That's a lot of repetition again. even if I wasn't doing it every day during those 9 years, even if I went on a few no-fap streaks that were quite long, it's still intermittent reinforcement. It's still being in the addiction. That's just so much wiring. And so to then unlearn and change all of that is going to require quite a lot of work, quite a lot of effort. And it's seeing it more as like, to me anyway, I see it more as like an equation. Like I see it so scientifically. It's almost like I can visualize all the different junky thoughts, unanswerable questions, and map out with like a flow chart the whole problem and the solution as well.
Yes.
And it's like the same for everyone. Like for me, I think I'm quite lucky that I get to run the Beyond Compulsion Academy and talk with all the different clients, because it's helped me see just how similar we all are. Like the thoughts you've had are kind of the same thoughts I've had. The problems you've had, the same problems I've had. It's kind of the same for everyone. And so you get this overall like holistic view of what is the problem from the lens of you've got these different parts in your mind, the addicted part of the mind, the child part of the mind, the rational part of the mind. And you can just see it as like one overall problem that can be solved with the right necessary inputs. And if I wanted to get better at football, I would play more football and put in more repetition. If I want to solve a porn addiction, I need to just find the right inputs that if I keep on like working on those things, it's going to lead to the repetition required to solve that problem. In our case, that is like the script, right?
Exactly. And you put it very accurately there when you describe like how it is a scientific sort of equation. You look at it as a flow chart, as you said, which it is inputs and outputs at the end of the day. And what I've noticed happen is that when guys start that sort of process of stopping, there's all sorts of thoughts that can come up, right? And what I notice is that the trajectory for most guys is that they'll bring a load of emotional baggage into it. They'll convolute the problem, not look at it like a flow chart, not look at it as a scientific equation, which reality it is, right? Input, output, cause and effect, right? Get engaging over time, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, right? There's all these values add up, but I went down the thoughts of perhaps, there is something wrong with my philosophy, how I see the world, or there's something perhaps going down into my trauma that's responsible. And sure, there are nuanced situations where that might be a contributing factor, but when it comes to the core issues and the core mechanisms, we all have the same human body. And so we don't have to overcomplicate it. There is a roadmap that you can go on to stop and stay stopped and feel strong and feel secure that you know what's going to come up and how to deal with when it comes up with the right system, right? There's one thing I wanted to also touch on, is that because going back to the young thing, we started young, from what I understand, we tend to overlook the environment that we grew up in, and we did give ourselves a very hard time over the fact that if you grow up in the West, and this is a growing trend internationally, right? So we're guys everywhere, and females and girls, we're all becoming in the same boat now. It's just the reality of the situation. But we grew up in a very sexualized world. We grew up in a very sexualized environment. Now we've got porn to deal with, and if you're in school, you've got people of the opposite sex or even the same sex, whatever one's attracted to, and also that you're going through puberty, right? And this is sort of the, I'd say, meat grinder of where the addiction starts to be in a position where it can take a nice hold of you. Probably articulated that a bit wrong. But we don't seem to consider that factor, and we just give ourselves a load of shame for just not being able to stop without really considering that this is what we went through, right?
No, it's a really interesting point. I think I know what you're getting at here, which is that when you're really young, you're exposed to all of this sexual content at the age of like 11, 12, 13. Some guys a lot younger as well. And it's like, you've not really been given the chance to deal with your sexual desires in a rational way because you just haven't been taught how. And it's like, what can you really expect from like a 12-year-old kid growing up in the Western world today, other than to get addicted to porn? Yeah. People question themselves, oh, why am I addicted to porn? How are you not addicted to porn? Right. Like, that's how I see things. It's like, it's almost inevitable growing up in our society. Yeah. And yeah, you may be a byproduct of the conditioning and the socialization that you've gone through in your formative years, but that doesn't mean you're then stuck in that way forever. Due to neuroplasticity, fortunately, we can change the brain. Exactly. And that's the wonderful, great thing. And it just requires certain inputs.
Because neuroplasticity implies that these addicted neural pathways are temporary, right? Yeah. Yeah. And that's, obviously, you can go do your own research on the field of neuroplasticity and look this up for yourself. It's all out there, which is a good thing. And which is like, it gives a lot of hope for guys and it helps a lot of guys out. Yeah. And just not giving yourself a hard time over like that past and stuff, and realizing that this is an equation to solve rather than this deep dilemma that you've got to deal with, and sort of you're assigning yourself some huge RuneScape quest to sort of solve, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
I think what happened for me as well when I was in the porn addiction is the addicted part of the mind would actually try and use my experiences between, well, I'm not even sure what years, but just like from my childhood as like an explanation for why I was addicted to porn. So it would actively seek a root cause to explain the desires. And so I'd be looking at situations that happened when I was 7, or maybe considering, oh, why did I masturbate in the woods when I was like 14 on my walk home from school, and just like weird shit that I did when I was younger. I'd be looking at those things and I'd go, oh geez, like there's gotta be something wrong with me. Like, oh, why did I measure my penis when I was 12 or whatever? And they just become these unanswerable questions that exactly. like take you away from the present moment and where you have a choice, and try and make you feel like there's something wrong with you. And like, yeah, some of those things that I've done when I was younger probably are a little bit weird, but I think growing up as someone who hasn't really got a good understanding of like sex and what it's all about, and this random sexual desire that you then have when you're going through puberty, and it's pretty strong, it's kind of like most of us probably have stories from our very young years where we're acting in maybe I want to say weird, but I don't even think they're that weird. I think just like, I'm not sure what the best word for it is, but like some kind of way which we then go, oh, why did I do that when I was younger? Like maybe I've always had like super high sexual desire. Maybe my libido is like out of whack. Like maybe there's something wrong with me. And so the addicted part of the mind will like latch onto these random storylines that we've got that are based in something that we did like 20 years ago or whatever, and go, oh, that's why I'm addicted to porn. But those thoughts themselves are bullshit. And the reason I know they're bullshit is because I never have those thoughts anymore. So it's like, that's when you know the brain's like rewired and it's all just nonsense, because you no longer have those thoughts.
And that's the thing, it's just adopting that more objective, accurate level of thinking, because it's absolutely applicable here. And like, like you said, I mean, when you're in those years as well, like my sort of relief for the day was like after school, and perhaps in school you were going through some sort of anxiety, no doubt, right? But it was sort of, okay, well, the relief of my day is like, as soon as I get home, I'm just gonna fap, right? And that's the sort of thing that is a big cornerstone of your day at that point. You're looking forward to, and you're not sort of even thinking about, is this like right or wrong? It's just, it is a thing, right? And then of course you've got all this other stuff that's coming into your life as soon as you get born. I mean, I think when I first, after watching pornography for this first time, perhaps when you're younger, you don't have like that prime access to it, right? And so you're thinking of ways, okay, well, how can I access it, right? Because at the time, my PC was the primary device that I wanted to access it on. but then it was sort of, the computer was in like a room where it was facing like the everybody, right?
Yeah.
So anyone could come in and see. So it was more of, okay, well, how can I engineer my way in so I can do this in secret and keep doing it, which is pretty expected if you're not thinking about, is this right or wrong? You just want the thing. So I think the first secret device I had was my PSP.
Yeah.
So PlayStation Portable, right? So we're going back the years here. We're rolling it back.
I used to love my PSP. I used to play FIFA career mode on it like all the time. So.
Dude, trust me. I had the first game I had was like this game called Samurai Warriors. My brother had FIFA. So it was
good for like car journeys and stuff. You could like be playing on a long car journey. I just remember distinctly like being on my PSP all the time in the car.
Exactly. And it was like some mad tech at the time.
Yeah.
I think the graphics were crazy, and you had so many things coming on screen. You think, oh, I'm going to get into the game thing right now, so I got to slow down. But that pattern was, okay, well, it was sort of, okay, I have this device which I can always access it off now. And then it was like, my routine would be after school, you engage in it, of course. And then perhaps when it's time to go to bed, you might just like cut 2, 3, 4 hours into your sleep schedule just to engage in porn. And again, you're not thinking about it, this is an addiction, this is going to harm me, going to help me. But whether you're aware of the situation or not, that repetition is just going to build those addicted neural pathways more and more and more. The more you engage, the more reinforce those neural pathways are going to become. And before you become aware of it, you're already in a compulsion. And I think beyond compulsion is where this is what you've started. Mary started it. You come in, open the porn thing, she's involved, I'm now involved, and we're all doing our thing. I want to ask you something, because a lot of the guys that know you for a long time, they came across your YouTube, and you started and we don't use this anymore, we don't use the word journey or quest anymore. But back then, I suppose it was like that, right? And so you posted your first nofap video, or first, perhaps, video on stopping porn and fapping, right? Did you feel shame on uploading your first video?
Yeah, I think I did, because when you really break it down, like, I didn't share that video with anyone. You know, I think that's like the best indicator of how much shame I would have felt around it. If I didn't feel shame, I probably would have put it on my Facebook at the time, because I used Facebook, I think, back then. It was quite a while ago. But yeah, I don't think I told anyone about it. I remember in 2020 though, I just knew, like, and this is just crazy to look back on, but I was like, I am going to create some online program that like tries to solve porn addiction, and like that was my goal in 2020. Now it's 2026, so it took me like 6 years to get here, where this is like my full-time job and this is what we do. And I just knew, okay, what action do I need to be on the right trajectory towards achieving that goal? And that for me back then was uploading a YouTube video where I was talking about a relapse. And I think my first YouTube video, I'm pretty sure I've deleted it now, but it was me just talking about the consequences of relapsing. And I was literally just talking to the camera like, I feel so exhausted, I feel shame. And then I had these like icon sort of graphics come up on the screen that I spent like 50 hours building for like this shitty like 5-minute video. It was so bad. And it was like some like icon like emoji of someone like looking like tired or something. It's like, why would I spend 50 hours creating that? I don't know. But
brother, don't take a dump on your legacy. This is where it all started.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. But I definitely felt shame back then, for sure.
Understandably. Right. Understandably, because we are sort of, from whatever factor there, whatever factors are at play here, we are sort of pigeonholed into this view of porn and how we want to keep it a secret. Understandably, don't get me wrong. Like we understand the problem, so we're past this, and we're here able to talk about this pretty openly. But of course, it wasn't always like that, because we we thought like every other guy before that, which was, look, I don't want to be known as like a porn addict.
Yeah.
I don't want to be known as this guy that has a problem with it for whatever reason that is, whether it's like, you think that someone would view you in an undesirable way, or you feel that someone would lose respect for you, or you feel that it's something that you feel that would really take a hit on your reputation.
Yeah.
And I mean, having started my thing, you started your thing, it certainly hasn't been the case. I mean...
Yeah, how have you found it?
Yeah, this is the thing, because...
So you've got like 20 plus videos now on your YouTube channel.
Right, which is crazy to think about, because, I said in my first doc episode, I said... I'm trying to remember what I said now. Yeah, I said that I never sort of imagined myself getting into this business, right? But... by the time I actually said those words, I feel I was like, no, I'm in it, and like no one's, no one really bats an eyelid at it, right? And my family is sort of helping me and like encouraging it, and I'm thinking, wow, well, hold on here, like this is a completely sort of different scenario that perhaps people would expect, right? And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and because having learned what I learned, you and Mary coaching me into this, and you guys have been on this a lot longer than I have. I now see this as any other addiction. So I think a very good reference point for this is I did a review on Andrew Huberman and Dr. Suave, right? They were discussing the sort of stigma around it, right? And the profound thing that was said was, well, if you had someone who was an alcoholic, so someone who went to AA, or you had a guy that had a problem with coke and he got off it successfully, people perhaps would look at it and think, well, okay, well, he was just on drugs, or he was just on alcohol, and bloody hell, they're destructive things, right?
Yeah.
Just as porn is. But when it comes to pornography, I think Suave said it, and he was like, yeah, they would just view you differently. They may view you as like a pervert, for example, or they may view you as a guy that's just like different or uncomfortable, like bringing in an uncomfortable vibe, right? But the reality is, again, the same addictive mechanism is at play, and given that we've just discussed, you're in it as a kid. The repetition of the behavior has happened over years and years and years. As far as I'm concerned, it isn't anything to be ashamed about objectively, right?
100%.
And when you look at the Western world, at least, you know that this problem has got out of hand. Due to the amount of testimonials of people, anonymously or not, confessing to this problem. I don't even need like to use that word. It's just, you're just saying what you think.
Well, the fact porn addiction recovery YouTube videos and NoFap videos have millions of views, like the more popular ones, that just goes to show how big a problem it is. If those videos didn't have 1 million views, then like you'd know, okay, well, maybe there's a few people with this problem, but you just see the demand on the internet for a solution, and it just is so clear that there's so many people struggling. I think the University of Montreal did a study, and they predicted that around 100 million people would be struggling with this problem.
Wow.
Which is just insane. And I'd take a guess that's probably even more. It's just absolutely everywhere right now.
Yeah. I mean, talking about secrecy, people within circles call it the secret habit, and that's just for masturbation. Pornography added on to that gives it another cycle. And yeah, I would say that that'd be accurate take. There's a lot more than that number. Yeah.
And I think, seeing the problem from the lens of, okay, it is an addiction. You've got these addictive neural pathways, certain inputs create certain outputs, and understanding that acting on the desire is the thing that creates more desire. Like that's how you end up strengthening those addictive neural pathways. I think it's so important, and then seeing it all as like kind of a scientific problem that can be solved is so key. And like for me as well, like it's so obvious now because like, you know, we only met like 10 months ago or something, right?
Yeah.
How on earth have you ended up here on this podcast today with 20 plus YouTube videos talking as you do about this problem if there wasn't some kind of scientific sort of solution where you can just go, there's certain variables, we need certain inputs, that's going to get you a certain result? Like, how could you feel this comfortable, this confident, and talk so eloquently about the problem if you hadn't like solved it basically? And like if you know, you have the awareness of these different parts of the mind, you know exactly what to do at all times. That's why you can talk about it in an empowered way. And that's what to me just goes like, oh yeah, like we're probably going to create like thousands of me and you over the next like few decades. Like there's going to be so many more of us who can talk about this problem, and then hopefully one day we get to a position where we basically eradicate the whole issue.
God willing, brother, God willing. And yeah, it's just, I remember when it was 2024, so it was like 4 months before, you know, I met Marrying Yourself, and I was sitting in my office chair, and yeah, most likely I just engaged, relapse, right? And I was sitting there thinking, why can't I figure this out? Within the mindset of, it just doesn't make sense why it feels so hard. There just must be a simpler way of looking at this. There must be a paradigm where there's just more there, where you can just ascertain a more objective stance on the issue in order for you to stop and stay stopped. Now, staying stopped is key here because there is a common trend within this space, especially with pornography, where guys are trying to stop. Yeah. And they see it more of a journey than, you know, journey meaning you may relapse 1, 2, 3, 4 X ad infinitum amount of times before perhaps one day you're hoping that you'll stop, right? Yeah. Where personally at the time I just didn't find that acceptable. Yeah. Right? Not in an arrogant way, but and we can go into the nature of why, you know, relapsing is not a good thing to happen in recovery, right? We'll get onto that. Yeah. But yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, look, there's just must be a better way of looking at this. And, you know, turns out that there was, right? And so it just goes to show that just going back to thinking about the problem on a more first principled level of first principles on the matter, you can really just surprise yourself. And, you know, having gone through this coaching and being able to stay stopped, benefits come way sooner than you think. It is something that I'm hoping will open a lot of guys' eyes. Yeah, 100%. And talking about like the first principles, I think the way we approach things is very much, you know, we've got a problem. The problem is, how do you stop a behaviour that you want to stop? Let's get to work and change, you know, the thinking and build a tool so that in those moments you want to engage in the behaviour, we can stop it. And we do that with a script, right? So it's all quite simple, as you say, and that's key. I mean, I've kind of explained what I believe the problem is now, which is there's a behaviour you want to engage in, you want to stop it. But what would you say you believed was the problem before we did coaching together and you learned the Beyond Compulsion method? That's the thing. We think I was in a sort of mind space where I was thinking there were so many multiple factors that there were a problem. So I was going through the different sort of explorations. Yeah. So I was thinking, okay, perhaps I'm not meditating enough, right? So I've got to work on my meditation and being present. I've got to go back into the past, look at my trauma, see what's going on there, because that seems to be a sort of thing that people will recommend to you. Or perhaps it was, I've not got a good daily routine. I'm not eating the right things.
Yeah.
Something in the day is sort of, when I'm eating it, is spiking some sort of hormone or cortisol. Oh, that must be why I relapse, because, you know, I just too much now and I just relapse. And then you notice that people that don't have a compulsion with porn aren't tracking these things. And it's kind of like, well, then if they're not engaging in porn and perhaps they don't have compulsive behaviours, then what am I missing here?
Yeah.
Must be something wrong with me. Must be perhaps like, is there something medically wrong with me? Perhaps I'm just such a sexual person and I just need to sort myself out somehow, go into some sort of psychiatric sort of thing. And that list just keeps adding.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to find the possibilities. And that possibility list does become rather continuous. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just always seeking an answer for why you have the desire, and there'd always be a new answer from the addicted part of the mind. It's just indefinite. It's like, I was tired, I was lonely, I was stressed. You know, oh, I'm not earning enough money. Oh, I'm failing in this way. Oh, I'm in terrible physical shape. Oh, I've just been rejected by a girl. Oh, this girl on Tinder hasn't replied to me. It's like, what the hell? Like, there could literally be a billion reasons to relapse when you're in the addiction. I'd love at some point for you to kind of just share with the audience, you know, what is the only real reason that people actually end up wanting to engage in the compulsive behaviour? Because I think that is one of the kind of first principles of the Beyond Compulsion method, is understanding why you're even doing this thing that you want to stop.
Sure. So, yeah, the issue is that you have addicted neural pathways for all the reasons that we just mentioned, and it is the action of engaging in the behavior continuously again, whether it's once, whether it's twice, whether it's X amount of times, that keeps you in the addiction, which keeps you engaging, which keeps on having you in the mindset of wanting to engage. So it's engaging in the behavior that's keeping you in there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not all the other random things going on in your life. It's simply that you relapse. That's what creates the desire to relapse again, and it's the repetition of relapsing which is going to create the desire. And that's what comes back to what you were talking about earlier about, you know, the journey and the relapse is part of recovery. Like, when you get the reality of addiction and you fully understand that acting on the desire is what creates more desire, the idea of relapse being part of recovery just becomes completely absurd, because it just goes completely against the most fundamental problem, which is that it's relapsing that leads to you wanting to relapse more.
Exactly. And that is sort of where we bring it to that mechanical, that scientific equation of things. Like, it's just an input and an output. It's a cause and an effect. And it's the space between the cause and the effect which we want to get right here. It's because when you're in that addiction, and me and Tom have been there all the way, we've just had these situations where our urges are so intense and they're so sort of in the moment, you're kind of scared about it. You're sort of running away, right? And you're not wanting to connect with it, obviously, because it's uncomfortable and it's a lot of discomfort. But it's that critical space in between the cause, which is the compulsive desire, and the effect, which is the engaging, getting that bit right so that you're able to process everything that you're feeling there, the urges, the discomfort, the strong emotions, all of that stuff. That was a sweet spot for me.
100%. It's got to be thought through rationally, you know. In that moment of compulsive desire, that's the opportunity. You're either going to strengthen or weaken the addictive neural pathways, and once you have a solution to that exact thing of, you know, you're wanting to do this thing that you also want to stop, it's like you're good to go, and that's how you can stay stopped and feel good about staying stopped.
Exactly. I want to put you in a bit of a, because we like uncomfortable situations. Right? Now, some guys are either married or they're in a relationship. And a lot of guys are in relationships that are very fulfilling and are even intimate, but they still end up engaging in porn because of all the reasons that we discussed. And so what I wanted to ask you was what would be the right mindset of thinking about that scenario? Because what I tend to find is, and again, you know, if you go through spaces online, such as the NoFap Reddit or Facebook areas, right? People, understandably, perhaps the partner may feel a bit betrayed when they catch their partner in that situation, or perhaps the guy engaging, the guy in the addiction, will sort of confess that to their partner, and the partner may actually take it in a good way. They may be supportive, but they're still feeling that sense of shame. And so what do you think would be a good way to sort of think about this in that such scenario?
Do you mean from the man's take or the woman's take?
Yeah, so let's start with the man's take first, because the man...
Well, I should say really the partner, because obviously it could be...
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever romantic side, let's say the person in the addiction.
Yeah.
So the person in the addiction feels guilty, feels all ashamed because of the neural pathways and perhaps the conditioning that we've gone through.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think it's just what we've already talked about, really. It's understanding that there isn't anything wrong with you, and this problem isn't necessarily about your relationship and how attracted you are to your partner, because I think that's where the addicted part of the mind really wants to go. Is the addicted part of the mind is going to want you to question whether your partner is attractive enough for you. It's going to try and get you to question whether you're being sexually satisfied in your relationship. It's going to try and get you to question all kinds of things to try and get you to engage in the compulsive behaviour, because it wants you to feel confused, unsure, helpless, and then go fuck it and relapse, basically. That's one of the addicted part of the mind strategies. And it may not be one of those questions I've just said, but it could be anything really to help you, to try and make you go down that route, basically. So I think the first thing would be understanding that this problem could become very, very convoluted and confusing and
no doubt,
about all kinds of different things in the relationship. So it's just bringing it all the way back into, okay, what is the real problem? The problem is there's a behaviour in your life, you want to do it due to the addictive neural pathways, you also want to stop it. And so how do we stop the behaviour? And that should be the only real problem to focus on.
Exactly.
And that can be focused on in the present moment, bring it back to what am I choosing to do and why. And we would make a choice and think that through with the script. As for the partner, I think it can be useful for them to hear what we're saying here as well.
Yeah.
We've got a guy in the programme he's just left the programme actually, but he sent us like a massive thank you message. He said his partner's now listening to the podcast as well. She's like fully on board with the Beyond Compulsion method, and it's a really lovely message, and he's doing great and everything. And I think his partner's probably taken away from the whole thing that we teach, which is that it isn't to do with her. And I think that is essential. It's for her to understand, look, this isn't to do with how attractive you are. This is to do with addictive neural pathways. It's like a separate issue. But it's totally understandable for any partner to go, oh, like, what's wrong with me? Why do they want to watch porn instead of, like, be romantic with me? Like, it's so understandable for them to feel hurt around that. But it's just seeing it more as an addiction. And if, they were taking heroin or they were drinking alcohol, how often would the partner in the relationship say, oh, am I attractive enough for them? Probably not. It's probably not even going to be a question that they have. But with this, it all gets very convoluted and confusing, I suppose. No,
precisely. And because I see this, I see posts like this a lot in the NoFap Reddit in particular. And it's very understandable to feel that, okay, the partner that is not in the addiction does feel a sense of betrayal. And that is really important to acknowledge, because it is, absolutely understandable that like it is through the sexual function, if you want to call it that, where you're engaging and you feel that, okay, well, I wanted to be the recipient of that, yet perhaps I am. Perhaps that's happening, but then they're also on the side. They've got this other thing, which is the porn. And not understanding that it is the same mechanism that would be invoked if you were an alcoholic, if you were addicted to any drug. And it's important to recognize that, because it's taking the thoughts of, perhaps I'm not a good partner, perhaps I'm not satisfying my partner in the way that they want, and so there must be something wrong with me. But that's just not the case. It is literally the same as a substance sort of situation, where the partner who's not addicted, who isn't in the compulsion, can come and be that support pillar for the person that is addicted, and they don't need to feel that they're being cheated on and betrayed. And that's how it is. That is literally how it is.
100%. And I think what I would urge any partner to do is to encourage the person in the addiction to go and get some real help from someone who knows what they're talking about and has a good understanding of the problem and can provide a practical solution to solve it. Because I remember with my ex-girlfriend, I was still in the porn addiction at that point. I hadn't met Mary and learned this method, so I was still relapsing. And I remember every time we relapsed, we'd get in like a big fight, a big argument. My brain is completely screwed, basically. And I just wouldn't be able to think rationally. And I'd just be a bit of a dick, basically, to be straight. And I remember, like, I'd eventually maybe open up and say, like, look, I've relapsed. Like, I've watched porn. I feel so shit about it, blah, blah, blah. And I remember her response, like, she was, like, the kindest hearted person. She was great. And I ended up breaking up with her, really to prioritise solving this porn addiction in the end. But, after every relapse, what she would do is, it was very unintentional, but she would kind of validate the junkie thoughts. And she'd be like, oh, it's fine. Everyone watches porn. It's normal. Don't worry about it. It's okay. And the addicted part of the mind just loved that shit, as you can imagine.
As it would.
The addicted part of the mind would just be feeding on that, which was really, really unhelpful, I suppose. Now, obviously, it's 100% your responsibility to, like, take control here and get the right help and solve it for yourself and not do it for anyone else. But I think the partner may try and provide some kind of advice, and it may not necessarily be helpful, and that isn't their fault. It's just, I would say, like, let's encourage them to go get help from someone and then try and get involved in that process as well. I mean, next month, me and my partner, my current one, are moving in together, and, like, I am so excited because she's finally going to let me fully teach her the whole Beyond Compulsion method. And I just want her to be, like, so on board with it all, and it's going to help the relationship just, like, kind of thrive even more, because I think then I can start to explain what's going on in my own mind further, with her being understanding of what the addicted part of the mind says without just, like, reacting to it maybe defensively or with as much hurt. And then I can also understand her addicted part of the mind, because I personally believe that, like, pretty much everyone kind of has, like, an addicted part of the mind in a way. Even if they're not in, like, an addiction, but it could just be, like, maybe the irrational part of the mind, if we want to call it that. But I think when you can share what's going on in your mind, the good and the bad, the rational, the irrational, whether it's, coming from a bit of your mind that you love and is great for you, or a bit of your mind that you don't like, if you can share all of that and be there with someone through all of that, I think that's going to just create, like, a beautiful, like, harmonious relationship for anyone. And so I think getting the partner on board with, like, the Beyond Compulsion method would be, like, a great move for anyone. And we had a guy this week in the weekly check-in actually share how he's just shared with his wife how he wants to, like, start actually vocalizing the script out loud when he's with her, and she's, like, so on board because she's noticed how much happier he is when he's using his script. And I just loved reading that. I was like, that's so cool. Like, I want to start doing that myself. Like, reading your script out loud, like, just bringing your partner fully on board with it all. They're getting it. Maybe they're even using bits of the method as well. I just think it's like, that's my vision for the future, is just for so many more relationships to have, like, the Beyond Compulsion method involved within it. And another thing to say on that is Mary's talked a lot about, compulsive arguments and compulsive relationships. And so it can all be quite interlinked, really, with the whole methodology.
Connected, One of my ones was compulsive thinking. So I would go into the future or the past and be replaying maybe a past argument, but also arguments or perhaps debates that never happened. And so it gets you into that sort of headspace where you're not really rooted in the present moment. And the addicted part of the mind at that point can actually sort of gather that momentum from perhaps another compulsion, and then it sort of put you into that condition of being in that unsturdy mental position for perhaps the porn compulsion to then sort of take advantage of, with those thoughts, negative thoughts. And of course, with the script, it's solvable, and it's like you can get back on track very easily. But again, it's something to be very aware of, because compulsion as a whole factor is one of the main drivers here. And I think with the partner thing as well, getting involved in a method like the Beyond Compulsion and using the script, and there's going to be all sorts of stuff about that coming up. The good thing about this method in particular is that because it's so simple and it's rooted in first principles, it's not like a nightmare to sort of help someone with. And of course, we're all about people who pick up the Beyond Compulsion method. They don't need anybody else. You don't need an accountability partner. It's not built for that, right? It's built for you putting yourself in a position of strength and power, being able to put yourself in that rational mind in those critical moments from a position of confidence, right? And so you're not looking for outside things to help you. However, because it is so simple, because it is so rooted in repetition, that it's something that partners could come in and integrate and cooperate with, which wouldn't be a nightmare. It would be good.
100%. I think something that's worth talking about is deprivation thinking here, right? And how that could play a part in the dynamics in a relationship. You talked there about it isn't about having an accountability buddy. It isn't about you joining the program and learning a script so you can stop it because your wife wants you to stop it. It has to be something that you want to do for yourself. Because I think if it isn't something you're choosing for yourself, then it isn't really going to be very effective, because the addictive part of the mind is just going to get you straight into feelings of deprivation. And it's going to say, I can't engage in this behaviour because it upsets my wife. I can't engage in this behaviour because it's ruining my marriage. I can't engage because... And those thoughts are going to be very, very loud. And if you don't even want to stop it yourself, then there's just going to be so much resistance, basically.
I'm going to ask you something. When you have the compulsive desire, even now, when that wanting to watch porn happens, do you want to watch porn in that moment?
That's a good question. Do I want to watch porn?
Because I would say, of course. Of course I want to watch it. Because if I have the urge for it, it's not like I don't want to watch it. I definitely do want to watch it. I just don't want the consequences of watching it. And so this is a necessary sort of paradigm to sort of shift yourself into, because when I started working with you and Mary, I had all these reasons why I shouldn't watch porn, and therefore in my mind it made sense to sort of label it as I don't want to watch it because of this. But the objective fact is, no, you do have addicted neural pathways, you do want to watch it. And in that moment, I think it was the first 10 minutes of sitting with you on that call, you felt a bit of shame. Well, I felt a bit of shame because I'm admitting that I do want to watch it. But again, it goes back to the mechanism of addiction. It's the same with any other addiction. If you built up that mind-altering experience to porn, of course you're going to want it. Expect those urges to come. And understand you do want to watch it, you just don't want the consequences. And I feel like that helps some people get out of that rut.
Definitely. So I was a bit confused when you asked, because I was trying to think to myself, like, do I want to watch porn anymore? I thought was the question. Like, in those moments, like, would you, if you want to, then do you actually want to? And
so do you want to watch porn now from that paradigm that you're just talking about?
So like, often for me, I suppose a better way of me putting it would be like, do I want to check my phone? Because I think they're the desires that I'm having nowadays more often than like a porn desire.
Yes.
But I totally get what you're getting
Yes.
at. Like,
Yes.
so I was talking to someone, on like a call last week who's like writing the porn addiction and he's struggling with it. And I said to him on the phone, like, do you want to watch porn? Like, do you want to keep on watching porn? And he's like, no. He's like, no, I don't want to watch porn. So I'm like, okay, so is it true that you don't want to watch porn? And he said, yeah, of course, I don't want to watch porn. And then I said to him, all right, well, do you want to bang your head against the wall? And he's like, no, I don't want to bang my head against the wall. I'm like, is it true that you don't want to bang your head against the wall?
This is the one they use for me.
Yeah,
this one is for
exactly.
me.
And it just works every time. Because I'm like, well...
It hits home.
Yeah, it hits home because it's like, well, what are you doing here then? Why are you on a phone call with me if you don't want to watch porn? Like, if you didn't want to watch porn 100%, you wouldn't require a script for that problem anyway. Probably would require it for something else. But I mean, of course, like for everyone who's got addicted neural pathways, you are going to have moments where you want to watch porn. And so, even for me, there are going to be occasional moments where I want to watch porn, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine, because it doesn't matter if you want to do it. It matters what you do. Cause and effect. The cause is, okay, you want to watch porn because of the repetition of addicting neural pathways from the past. The effect, or like the result, or what you do, is you think it through rationally and you make a rational decision and you're fine. And then you come on a podcast and have a little chat about it and enjoy yourself, you know? So it's fine.
I would have thought,
but yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because you're right. Like, people feel so much shame about even having the desires. But when you know where the desires are coming from, and it's the repetition of something that kind of happened to you, which is pretty fucked up, you're going to feel okay. Just get into that neural pathway of compulsive desire and know there's nothing wrong with you. And you can start to you can begin to think it all the way through and start to actually change that neural pathway. And you start changing it over and over and over, and you're going to have less and less desires as well.
Yeah, simple things. That's
it, man. That's it.
You know, I think right now I'm inspired to sort of create something digital about the addicted part of the mind within the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm brainstorming in real time
what are you thinking?
While I'm on the podcast. I want to create something in the web, like a web-based thing. But I feel like there's something that could really sort of, because we're bringing this up a lot, the addicted part of the mind. And of course, like when we understand what it is, going through the BC method. But it is, again, because when we see a lot of trends in the nofap space, in the porn addiction space, or stopping porn addiction, right? There's a lot of emphasis on like the neurochemicals and dopamine. Yeah. And the reality is, what we found with over like 100+ clients, in my case, being through, knowing guys from other programs, having spoke to them, and even now within the BCA, it's the overwhelmingly responsible section of this addiction is the mental stuff, right? And no matter how much you want to measure your dopamine or regulate it, or perhaps, I don't know, do a semen retention based approach. I'm sure there is benefits on that level, on a health level. And when it comes to perhaps resetting your baseline of whatever neurochemicals or hormones or whatever, sure, there's that benefit. But when it comes to an addiction to pornography, to stopping it, the mental aspect is primarily the responsible actor, which needs to be addressed. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's a little bit like people, right? So I'm sure there would have been a time where millions of people were in good physical shape without ever knowing what a calorie is. It's kind of the same concept. It's like, you can be good when it comes to solving porn addiction without measuring anything really. And if anything, the whole measuring side of things is kind of another compulsion. Like measuring your kind of like dopamine levels or whatever, I see that as quite similar to like someone with a food compulsion counting their calories. And it's just going to be detrimental, and it's going to take you away from the simplicity of making good rational choices moment by moment. I want to come back quickly to what you were talking about with like the addicted part of the mind and like creating something. Something I was thinking about recently is how, like, to us it's so clear that certain thought patterns are just indicators of compulsive desire. Yeah. And I think a good way to kind of get that across is like, imagine you had like a view of a city, we'll say Manchester because we're here today, and we had like a bird's eye view of the whole city, and you could see all these different traffic lights, and there could be 1,000 different traffic lights in the city, and there's like the red light on the traffic light indicating stop. Okay, well, it's like all the different thoughts in your mind about the behaviour are kind of just like different traffic lights, and you don't need, if you're a driver and you're going down a road and you see a red light, you don't go and analyse the red light and like get out the car and start looking at the red light and make sure like the size of the light is the right size, or it's the right shade of red or whatever. You would just go, okay, well, that's an indicator or something and I know what to do. It's the same with junky thoughts, same with unanswerable questions. You don't need to analyse them. You don't need to figure out all this random shit that, a therapist is going to teach you to try and overanalyze and overthink. All you need to know is these certain things in your mind are indicators of something. And as long as you know what to do when you've got that indicator, you're fine. You're good to go.
Indicators, absolutely perfectly put. So an indicator, when it pertains to porn, from the addicted part of the mind, would sound something like, have I relapsed?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does edging ruin my nofap streak?
Yeah.
Or perhaps another kind of junky thought from the addicted part of the mind would look like, man, I've had a long day. I think if I was to watch porn tonight, I deserve it and I'll be fine in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I've got a podcast tomorrow that I'm going to film.
Yeah.
I can't engage because I'll be too nervous.
Yeah.
Puts you straight into deprivation.
Exactly.
And deprivation thinking is, when you're in that state of deprivation thinking in itself is a really not a nice thing to feel. And although one's intention behind it might be excellent, because if I was to put myself in the like a husband and wife situation, and you're thinking, look, I can't watch porn because I'm married and I want to save this for my wife or partner. You're still getting put into that state. Yeah. And that's very important to sort of note.
Yeah.
So it's sort of understanding how you can overcome this language, how you can overcome these thoughts, these prompts, these, what was the word that you said? Indicators from the addicted part of the mind. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, like this morning, I was in my flat, having a coffee. I'm sure at one point I had the thought something like, oh, I can't relapse, or I can't go on my phone this morning because I'm about to do a podcast with Joe. It's like, obviously the addicted part of the mind is going to say something like that. And that's not the problem. The problem is, how do you respond? That's the key thing. So it's interesting, and I think you're right. Like, a lot of the time we can think that our thoughts are well-intentioned, but often it is the addicted part of the mind posing as the rational part of the mind.
Yes.
With the questions or the deprivation thinking, seems rational, seems logical, seems productive and helpful, but a lot of the time when you're in the addiction, what you've got going on is a part of your mind just trying to get what it wants. And so that's what we teach people to figure out, is see all of the bullshit in the mind and then actually proactively deal with those thoughts and rewire it so that you don't really fear relapsing ever again, and you feel very comfortable sort of talking about this issue. And there isn't really shame anymore either, because you kind of get to a position where it's like, you understand why you were relapsing for all those years. Like, you'll resonate with that. Like, now why you relapsed and were unable to solve it for so long. And it's the same as me, because it's just, you see the answer and it's just like, oh yeah, like that all makes sense now.
Right. It's managing and responding to these indicators in the correct way, and understanding that because what we've just talked about might sound to a new viewer as, okay, well, this brain activity, this addicted part of the mind, these addicted neural pathways, from what Tom and Joe are saying right now, I feel that this process, this mechanism sounds quite insidious. And so understand that also that, you might have all these different thoughts coming through and you might find that, oh, well, my brain is working against me. Understand that it isn't, the brain is working as it should. It's just trying to get that mind mood altering experience that it's become so accustomed to. So it's a natural process. So it's a natural process as far as it's concerned, right? And it's the brain working correctly. It knows where to get this incredible feeling from. It knows where to get all these subsequent chemicals from that brings that reward, activates that reward mechanism. And it's just behaving how it should. So it's important to take a step back from that sort of paradigm and just understand that things are working as they should, but it's just that these variables are sort of stacked in a way that has enabled this behavior, which enables negative consequences. Look at it as an equation, look at it as a flow chart, take everything today into consideration, and it isn't something to be afraid of. It's just something that needs to be handled in the right way with the right training.
100%. And I think just a final thing to say really is on the word reward. I think you'll know that like what's really going on there is it's the temporary relief from that discomfort of wanting to engage in the behaviour. So even that is like one way in which the addictive part of the mind can try and glamorize, I suppose, engaging when you get in a really solid, stable place. You're probably going to feel a bit more like, oh God, like engaging in that behaviour, like, and you'll think about all the consequences, right?
Yeah, and glamorizing was one of the biggest factors of the addicted part of the mind invoking those indicators, right? By glamorizing, for me, it would mean I would think back to like a scene, like a porn scene that was really up my street, let's put it that way, or perhaps like a series of images which I was very inclined to, right? And that, of course, can sort of induce a lot of shame when you think about it. But again, it's just the mechanism at work. Don't come with your lens of judgment on it. Just understand it's the mechanism at play, and you just need to understand why it's working that way, ascertain the strategy, and be able to just manage yourself moment by moment, embracing that discomfort and getting onto the other side of that discomfort without engaging.
Absolutely, that's it. And you got your own YouTube channel. Do you want to share the name of that YouTube channel?
Joey Beyond Compulsion, at Joey Beyond Compulsion.
Awesome. And we'll leave a link below as well. So if you want to book in a call with Joey, feel free to do so. Do you have calls available?
Yes, I have a 30-minute free consultation call just to book in the calendar. You can have a chat with me. Again, it's very absolutely confidential. I'm very easy to talk to, and what I like, my favorite calls are the ones where guys really grill me on the situation, and really try to really demonstrate that they want to understand what's going on and really get to the nitty gritty of it, and don't be gentle. Really try and get to the bottom of my brain to see how I see it and question me on that, because I know how important this is of an issue for a lot of guys to get resolved. And like we were mentioning earlier, the more that you engage in the behavior, the more activated those addicted neural pathways become again and again. And for me, when I was in the position of, like I was saying, in late 2024, I had enough. I really had enough, and it was something that I needed to get solved. And I think the first call I jumped on with you, I said, listen, Tom, I need to get this sorted.
Yeah.
And so I understand your guys' position. You don't want to spend money and spend it on the wrong thing. And I just want you guys to also be confident in your choice. And so really, guys, get on the call and really ask me everything you need to know to be sure and certain that me and Tom can help you. Mary, of course, being the brains on the operation, 35 years in the game. Tom being well into his 4th years in the whole space of the NoFap thing, and now he's on the right training out of NoFap on an actual method that consistently brings results for clients. Then yeah, definitely really ascertain that this is for you. And again, also you can access me through WhatsApp if you just prefer to text as well. And that's also in my description as well. Go through the quiz, get my WhatsApp number, and I'll give you a message and we'll start chatting. Yeah,
we'll leave some links below. I think it's worth mentioning as well that before the Beyond Compulsion method, you'd spent like over $10,000 trying to solve this, right?
Yes, unfortunately. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Yeah, you need to go through a few to sort of ascertain the right way.
Yeah.
But I'm here to sort of make sure guys just don't end up in that situation.
Yeah.
And so they're plus $10K.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Thanks, guys. Hopefully this is useful to you. Hopefully this can help you consider a new take on things a little bit. It is very different to everything else out there, really. Joe's come over today to Manchester from Wales. It's been an absolute pleasure, Joe. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure.
Yeah, let's go out and enjoy the rest of our day. See you later, guys. Bye.